today's World Insight. Exchanges among students and the youth between China and the U.S. How well are these people-to-people relations going? How are youth exchanges contributing to better, broader understanding of both sides?
Welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Today, we are presenting to you with a special roundtable on China-U.S. youth exchanges. The roundtable features special guests representing people in these exchanges from all walks of life. They include students, parents, program founders, partners in China-U.S. cooperation, and more. The roundtable brings together figures who have played pivotal roles in China-U.S. youth exchange programs over the decades, a testament to the positive energy from both sides. We share stories and discuss personal experiences. The connections aid better understanding and help build lasting friendships. Now take a listen to the stories of some of the brightest minds from both sides on the youth exchange programs. Welcome to every one of you. Wow, what a family photo. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations for the successful exchange programs you have been participating in. Let's start from the younger generation. After all, it's their camps, and also it's their future that we're talking about today. So Katie, Candice, Amanda, what are your takeaways from camps like this? What is, the story you want to tell your peers when you're going back home?
I think it really focused on building those relationships between the Chinese students and the American students. We were spending like every minute of the day with them. We went and experienced China, and it was really helpful to have someone who's so familiar with China and with the culture to be with us. They could explain things to me that, like, just going by myself or with like an American group, I probably wouldn't have understood it. I was kind of put in charge of our group's mini talent show, and I got to work with all the students in my group, both the American students and the Chinese students, to put together a song to perform for everyone at the closing ceremony. And we really wanted to
Which song was that?
integrate. It's called "See You Again" by Charlie Puth. It's an American song, but on one of our bus rides to an excursion, our whole group, our teacher had put it on the speaker in the bus, and so our whole group was singing along in the bus. That was a really good memory for us, so we wanted to incorporate that song and also the hope that when we all go back to our daily lives that we'll be able to continue contacting each other and hopefully one day see each other again, whether that be in America or back in China.
Can you still sing one or two sentences?
I'm not a very good singer.
Oh yeah, everybody applaud, please.
漫长的一天，你不在身边，好多话要对你说，等在你见到以前，好多好远。有你在身边，好多话要对你说，等再见那一天，等再见那一天。So,
wow, that's really nice. Wow.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Amanda.
I think that camps like these, they provide really great opportunities for you to be able to better immerse yourself in cultures and different peoples that like you've been learning about. It was really fun at Camp Gung Ho because they were able to bring in a lot of different like celebrities that we were able to meet and be able to connect with and experience things with them. So that was really cool.
Wow, celebrities. Who did you meet?
I think the one that I connected with the most is Luo Ning. He's a really great pianist, and I also play the piano. And so I got to have the opportunity to play a short song with him, and he was able to improvise with it and add to my song. And so I just think that that was really cool that I was able to interact with and connect with someone really like famous and really well known from another country, and that was really awesome.
Can I
Yeah,
add
please,
something, Kenway?
David.
I'm so excited
Yeah.
to hear Amanda say that because Luoning is one of my old friends in the jazz world here. He's from Xinjiang. I knew him when he was like a high school student and was still just trying to work jazz. And he's now a maestro. I mean, he's put out records. And it's just so amazing and beautiful that she met Luoning and was able to play piano with him. I can't believe how this makes me feel. This is just so wonderful. And what a great opportunity. And when I see Luoning, he has a new album out, and I'm going to see him later this week, probably, or next week.
Tell him.
And I will tell him about Amanda and see. And this is just proof for me of how valuable this program must be. It's just incredible.
And Candice, what about for you?
Yeah, I think this camp was really fun, and it's really a great chance to communicate cultural differences. And we're just meeting people from different countries and different cultural backgrounds. And we're just asking different questions like, oh, do you have this in America? Or, oh, do you have this in China? Like, it's really fun. And I think it's like you get to make new friends and you get to visit museums, get to make pottery together. It's just super fun and a great experience.
Was there a moment or two that you still remember today in retrospect? You know, what did you ask your American friends about what you have in America or in China? And what questions they ask you about China? And how did you answer them?
Like we were eating lunch together and they asked us why we took off the head of the shrimp, because they took off the tail of the shrimp and we took off the heads, and we were like, huh? They were like, there's good stuff in the heads and all the good stuff's in the heads, and we were like, no, the head's like the bad stuff and you have to take off the tail and the head and everything. Yeah, it's really super great.
And eventually, how were those shrimps being consumed?
We took off both the tails and the heads, and yeah.
This is just one of those funny examples, but you know, that's what it's about. Sometimes small and interesting questions in cultural exchange. Good for you. Eric, what about for you?
Oh, it's such a special experience watching these kids. We call it navigating cultural differences. I thought the funniest one to me was about air conditioning in the rooms. There was a lot of debates between the Chinese and American students on how cold or warm to keep the rooms. And it ended up sparking a lot of really interesting cultural discussions, right? So there's a lot of the Chinese students felt like if it was too cold, they were going to gamao, right? They were going to get a cold here. And the American students thought it was way too hot. And so we kept encouraging our American and Chinese students to communicate. Right. So they would come to us and be like, hey, they're doing this or this is happening. And we'd say, hey, here's how you can solve it. You're going to use communication skills. Right. This is how we solve our problems. And it was so magical to me to watch over time. And I promised the students at the beginning of the camp that they were very unfamiliar with each other. It was very kind of strangers and a little bit cold between them. They were very separate. They would stand on different sides of the room. And I promised them by the end of the camp that there would be tears shed and they would be sad to see each other go. And I wasn't sure that was going to happen, but I hoped it would happen with our activities. And by the end of the camp, it was so amazing to watch all those students hugging, crying tears, you know, building true friendships and relationships.
Stacy, tell us what you're thinking right now when you are seeing this conversation going so warmed up already among even all of us, even though it's through Zoom.
Thank you. Well, it's so exciting to hear two of our students share about what an amazing experience they had at this camp. And we've had groups in the past participate in camps it was so exciting this year. I think this marks the first year since COVID that we've been able to have groups of students go. And this camp was just phenomenal in how it was organized. Every type of experience like this that I've been a part of always, it ends up with this sort of connection. As Eric said, that's the purpose of learning languages. And that's what our program is about. our students for years in their classrooms, right, learn about traditional Chinese culture, but they don't have the opportunity to directly connect with people. And so this provided that just invaluable experience. It makes me think of an interview where somebody was asking me about AI and why, can't that just teach us how to learn language? And my response to that is there's not context. I mean, these beautiful stories about the shrimp and about singing the songs, these are not things that you plan and go look up how to say. And those are the little things that connect us as people, which is why we're learning languages, to be able to take our language out of the classroom, to be able to connect heart to heart with people. So it's just exciting to hear what the students have shared today.
I could almost imagine, Stacy, lesson number 1 for the future for all your students learning Chinese will include vocabularies like shrimp, air conditioning.
That's right. I mean, these are things that you don't think up. I mean, and they're just so powerful, right? Those are the big takeaways. Who would think that, eating shrimp was going to be such a big memory in your mind, right? So I love it.
Logan, tell us more about your thoughts.
I would say I see the significant meaning of the gung-ho spirit in current people-to-people ties between the U.S. and China. 46 American students and 48 Chinese teenagers that they spent unforgettable 10 days together in Wuxi camps. So after all the events, they formed the very deep friendships. And we believe that the friendships they build up, it's not on the playing together and having fun. More importantly, I think they arise from facing challenges together and difficulties together. Katie, Amanda, they overcome lots of the difficulties. The first day, they lost their luggages, but they didn't complain in public. They just accepted what happened, and they kept communicating with the Chinese students, and they shared their ideas, their feelings about what happened. And of course, the Chinese students, they also offer them what they have, and they also give them lots of help. So that's what I saw from the whole Camp Gong-Ho. I feel so warm, and I see the hope.
I'm sure Amanda and Katie did not tell Brett about that, the loss of luggages.
One thing that did get communicated back was it took a few days for their luggage to make it there. Of course, there was that IT outage that caused some travel complications in the process. So it was a little nerve-wracking for a parent to have that situation. But of course, the coming together of American students and Chinese students to reach out to each other, to help each other, to build those friendships. That's what this is about. And sometimes having those experiences of lost luggage help build those connections that we're looking for.
Then tell me more about, when you're hearing stories coming from these students that were personally experiencing this several weeks, you and Eric, together with your partners, designed for them and their takeaways. What was going through your mind right now?
Well, I'm just immensely grateful to be a part of this whole experience. Having come from a background of youth exchange myself, which got me interested in China, to see these younger generations have these opportunities and to really respond to them and take them in stride is something very valuable. And, coming from the Helen Foster Snow Foundation, we follow her example of bridging between the U.S. and China. And even though her time doing that started 100 years ago almost, we're really happy to see that Americans and Chinese can connect together and have unique experiences and be exposed to not just the traditional Chinese culture, but also the modern Chinese culture and things that kids today can really connect with and really interact with. So we're really grateful for our partners at China Prospect for assisting us in setting up this camp activity.
You sound very serious in your answer, but did you know about the head and the tail of the shrimp story?
I didn't, but that makes sense. And that's a good way of finding a cultural compromise, right? Like you can both explain your perspectives and come to some middle ground.
every one of us that's participating in this conversation is the crystallization of how these exchange programs can enrich individuals' life, not only when they are extremely young, but also when they're at different age and shouldering different responsibilities in society. But having said that, though, one point is very important. I do want to ask the organizers and the parents and the partners in the programs. Back in the 1990s, early 2000s, or even 2015, 16, going to China from the United States, it's like such a natural thing because the relationship were very close, and young people see each other as partners for the future. But now things are changing. Geopolitics, racial perceptions, and the list goes on. So how did you manage to overcome some of the challenges? What are some of the support you have got along the way? Dan.
We have received so much support from a variety of different avenues, and it's been really fulfilling and rewarding to see how, in service of a project like this, where our ambition is to bring the youth of China and the youth of the United States together and let them see how much they have in common and how that's far more than what separates them. It's been amazing to see how people have stepped up to help us along the way and to help this camp come to fruition. The morning that we were due to fly out to China with 50 teenagers and all the camp leaders was the morning of the IT outage. And so that was a huge surprise and left us scrambling to figure out what our next steps were. The airlines told us that there were, a couple of days before we could get on a flight. And so we had to find accommodation for 50 students, before the day was over. And so, you can imagine what a headache and a challenge that was. And thankfully, through the connections that we had made with people of the city of Tacoma, nearby Seattle, we were able to be housed and fed at the University of Puget Sound. They were incredible partners in stepping in at a moment's notice and providing our students and leaders with places to stay in an unforeseen situation. So it's been really incredible to see how different people who have really seen the value of what we're trying to do with Camp Gung Ho and with these U.S.-China exchange programs, how they've stepped in when needed to assist us in the places even where our meticulous planning has not gone perhaps how we wanted.
I would assume, Stacy, learning the Chinese language now in the U.S. was not as trendy as, let's just say, 10 years ago compared to. So what was it like to be a partner of exchange program like this along the years? How are you adjusting to these different circumstances? How would you inspire your students and how they are doing it the other way around?
We serve as a pool of over 12,000 students that want to have those kind of experiences, and their parents want to have them. And as you see here with the Nichols family, it's a family affair. Within our program, we have families with 3 and 4 students all in the program. And the kids say they love to learn Chinese so they can talk and their parents won't understand what they're saying. So, it's sort of its own culture in itself with learning Chinese in the setting that we are. And with our program, the motto there is providing a world of opportunities, for our students. And so to really achieve that, we need partners like Helen Foster Snow Foundation and the Gung Ho group here, because that's how we can really achieve. That's what our ultimate end is, right? To make those connections. And if I could just add one more piece here that hasn't been mentioned, and that is that we have had a group with the same organizers, with Gung Ho and Helen Foster Snow, sponsor a trip for our administrators. So, we have 98 schools as part of our network, and that's a lot of administrators that you want to have buy in to the importance of learning this language and culture. And the very best way for that to happen is to give them an experience with that. So earlier this year in the spring, we had a gung-ho administrator delegation come to China. And in the past, there was a different organization that was able to sponsor those that no longer exists since COVID. And for me, leading this program, that was the most critical piece, was to have administrator buy-in, for them to understand and feel a connection to this culture and language. And it never fails. And this happened again with the gung-ho delegation, bringing them to China, visiting schools, meeting with education leaders, interacting with students in the schools, life-changing, just life-changing, emotional, and to have principals come and say, Stacy, this changed my whole life. And coming back from that, even years later, when I see those same administrators, they say, Stacy, going to China just changed my whole life. It will never be the same again. And highly value that opportunity to make those connections. So
listening to what you just said,
so
almost have tears in my eyes.
I get emotional
about that
too.
life-changing, life-changing experience. I'm sure everyone in this chat room understand exactly what you're saying. But Eric, I still want to have your say here. Support for programs like this may now be as abundant as it used to be. So how did you and Dan manage to work with the people in Utah and also to work with those who have resources to support this program and beyond?
Every time we face a big challenge that seems like it's going to end our efforts, which is, there have been many of those, some political, some just mysterious, some just logistical, there's always been people that have come out to say, no, we want to make sure these things happen. Now, that said, we are still facing lots of challenges. We pulled these programs off at great personal cost to many people that you're seeing here that are personal funding, self-funding, believing in these types of things. The costs go up. There's a lot of costs associated with these to make them happen. And it's unclear now how we continue forward with these programs. It used to be kind of government funding and different things like that. And it's not exactly clear what that looks like now. What we're hoping for is we can get a lot more invested people from the community, that the people that want to see these things happen, that they'll come forward and start supporting these things to make sure they happen. And we feel like these kinds of grassroots community support, financial support, people like the Nichols with their promoting our programs amongst the different communities and networks, that's how we should build these. And that's going to sustain going forward. That's how we're going to keep this relationship strong and not just be stuck to the winds of political movements, right? We want it to be a more have solid foundation, anchored in people, anchored in the people that are believing this the most. And so that's what we're trying to build. And we have a lot of challenges that we face and a lot of challenges going forward. And so we hope more people can come forward that believe in this stuff and support us in any way that makes sense to them. And so that's what we're trying to build. And that's the mission of Gung Ho, to bring everyone together, to work together, Gong He, to work together to make these things possible going forward.
Brett, you're playing dual roles here. One, the parents of two wonderful ladies who joined the camp. The other is also helping others in the same district to understand better about this exchange program with China. So when you are hearing what our conversation earlier, how do you understand the current sets of challenges and the ways to solve them? Do you see Eric and Dan and Stacy have got the keys for that?
And that's the conversation is there, not just among these administrators, it's among the parents. I represent, right, that parent group, that parent council. We field questions every single year as we start a new school year and new parents enroll in the program, and they have concerns about learning the Chinese language, and what about the geopolitical cultures going on? And it presents challenges for people where they're interested in a language and a culture, but they, I think, really have, I think it's fear that they have of potential change because of a lack of understanding. And as a parent group, as a parent council, these are the programs that make the difference. These are the experiences that children can have, that these youth can have, that will change minds, help people understand that it really is a personal relationship that can be built in an exchange program. They make friends. At the end of the day, it's the human connection.
And the experiences of the young people can also enrich those of their parents and their families. And the ripple effects positively, of course, can be felt by the whole community. Absolutely. I go with you, Brett, on that.
100%, because our daughters have come home, of course, from their trip to China, and they have stories. And it's not just us as parents who have been excited for the opportunity, but all of their neighbors, all of their friends, knew that they were going. And as soon as they're home, everybody's asking, well, tell us about it. What was your experience like? Yeah, Amanda had a couple of friends like within just a day or two of her being home, she had her friends over all afternoon talking about all of her experiences. And neighbors, the next door neighbors who knew that they were gone, come over and say, tell us about. There is a great interest among especially here in Utah. Utah is very unique because we're very open to that relationship idea. But America generally, there's a great interest among people for that. And these programs extend that window of opportunity, not just from the youth, but to parents and to a broader community who is seeking that connection.
Dan, I would assume that when you were organizing this program, it would be very different compared to 8 or 9 years ago. The circumstances, the atmosphere, people's attitude, the procedures. So what was it like for you to prepare for this specific program?
I think the challenges, at least for us on the organization side, both in the United States and in China with our partners there, I think those challenges just made us even more determined to push this program through and to push this camp through and to make it happen. With the geopolitical situation and tensions between the two countries, I think that has just made us even more determined to make sure that students have an opportunity to experience these types of camps and to engage with their Chinese counterparts or their U.S. counterparts and to build these relationships. I think all of those challenges in a strange way have made us more determined, and more committed to ensure that programs like this continue, because they're needed now more than ever.
A great thank you to all of you who are working so hard behind the scenes to make sure all these miracles of friendship could happen for now and the future. Thank you. And that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to know more, search World Insight. Check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on X and Facebook. I'm Tian Wei. On behalf of the team, thanks for being with us. Bye.